Currently, it is 76 degrees here on the campus of Florissant Valley Community College. I'm Jell with your noon news update. A St. Louis judge may rule next week on whether testimony from Governor Greitens' accuser will be admitted at his trial. Greitens' lawyer, Jim Martin, said yesterday that the defense intends to ask that all testimony from the woman and her friend be stricken from the record. Both were interviewed by former FBI agent William Tisby. The governor's legal team has accused Tisby of perjury. 3 people are seriously hurt after a crash in St. Louis involving a Metro bus. A car hit a bus in the 1100 block of Riverview Boulevard. 2 of the victims were in serious condition, while the third is in critical condition. The accident is under investigation. A Chesterfield man is accused of bilking his Clayton employer out of over $200,000. James Guccione was indicted last week on charges of wire fraud and mail fraud. Guccione was director of finance for a company identified only by the initials KM. The indictment claims he began taking money from the business in 2012 by causing company funds to be used to order computer hardware and software for his own benefit. In campus news, Paya Professor is tomorrow from 2 to 4 p.m. in the library quad. So that will go to raise money for Pi Theta Kappa, and that's certainly a thing. Moving on, the weather. Let's bring that up. Today it is partly cloudy, if you say so. High of 85, low of 64. 0% chance of precipitation. It is a very dry and warm day. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high of 85, low of 70. Thursday, we've got thunderstorms, high of 79, low of 65. Friday, clouds in the morning, sunny in the evening, high of 76, low of 56. And Saturday, it will be sunny, a high of 78, low of 56. Welcome to just about summer. Anyway, currently it is 76 degrees here at KCFV. I'm Jell, and this has been your noon news update. But please stay tuned, because after a short break, we will be back with GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. But until then, here is Valor by Between the Rivers, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Thank you for listening, and please stay tuned for more. That was Valor by Between the Rivers here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and this is GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. And we like to kick the show off with what games are coming out this week, what's coming out next week, and what anime are in theaters. So, let's get started this week on PlayStation 4. Battlezone Gold Edition, which is a version of the PlayStation VR Battlezone game, now playable without VR. But you can team up with people who have VR, and that's all super awesome. Other than that, we've got Guns of Icarus Alliance, Hex Tunnel Touch. I know Hex Tunnel was a PlayStation VR game, a much cheaper one. How would you do a touch version on PlayStation 4? Okay, whatever. Hive, Altenum Wars, Killing Floor Incursion, which is a PlayStation VR zombie shooting game. Pirate Flight, also PlayStation VR, that is like biplane racing. Actually, maybe not biplane, prop plane. Anyway, Super Mega Baseball 2 and Dayland will be out on the 3rd, followed by City of Brass on the 4th. And let's see, on the... Oh, I guess that sums it up for this week. The 8th would be next week. So, Xbox One, what are you getting? Xbox One is also getting Battlezone Gold Edition, Minecraft Super Plus Pack, Super Mega Baseball 2. Tomorrow, Outbreak the New Nightmare and Outbreak the Nightmare Chronicles, and Through the Woods. And then on the 4th, Aquamoto Racing Utopia, Bounce Rescue, City of Brass, and Drive on Moscow. Remember, for once, the Xbox One is getting more games than the PlayStation 4. But then there's the Switch. The Switch is getting Animal Super Squad, Arcade Archives Neo Geo Stakes winner, Arcade Archives 10-Yard Fight, Cast of the Seven Godsends Redux, Don't Die, Mr. Robot, Japanese Mahjong, Johnny Turbo's Arcade, Sly Spy, Nihilumbra, Perfect Angle, Professional Construction The Simulation, Timberman Versus, and on the 4th, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze also comes out. Quite a list of games, mostly random indie downloads, but that's nice. Moving on, next week, on PlayStation 4, we've got AO International Tennis, Conan Exiles, Darkest Dungeon Ancestral Edition, Destiny 2 Warmind, Mega Dimension Neptunia V2R, which I am going to put out a warning on that one. Mega Dimension Neptunia V2R is just a version of Mega Dimension Neptunia V2 with some minor improvements, like putting the movement circles back in the game, and a VR mode, but the VR mode is only for room visits. You cannot play the main game in VR, and it is a full-priced title, which comes off as kind of scammy, if you ask me. I appreciate the fact that they actually translated it and released it in America, or are releasing it in America, but I'm going to say that was actually a little bit of a waste of time, because that is way too much money to pay for a game you can get way cheaper. I mean, the improvements seem nice. The lack of a movement circle was one of the reasons I dropped the game, but it's not enough to get me to pay full price for it. I hate to say it, but I will wait until that's in a bargain bin before I grab it. Also, Tacoma and Trailblazers are coming out next week for PlayStation 4, followed by Suberia and Laser League and Hyper Sentinel. On Xbox One, AO International Tennis will be out next week, followed by Conan Exiles, Destiny 2 Warmind, and Shantae Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition. Weird that isn't listed on PS4. It should be coming to PS4, but it's not listed. After that, we've got Suberia and Laser League and Hyper Sentinel. And Nintendo Switch next week is getting Raging Justice, which is not the greatest looking side-scrolling beat-em-up, Shantae Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition Day 1 Edition, which is a questionable title, followed by Garage Immortal Redneck One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 Deluxe Edition, which I'm a little iffy on. It looks like it's a port of the Vita version instead of the PS3 or 4 version. Following that, Suicide Guy, Super Chariot 3/4 Home, and Hyper Sentinel. There are no games coming out this week or next week on 3DS or Vita. That concludes the new game releases. How about anime in theaters? Where the heck did that just go? So, our computer is having some very interesting graphical problems. The most interesting graphical problems, and it just... Oh, wait. It's coming back. It's coming back. Some of them are coming back. I think the graphics card on the computer here is broken. Because I was just about to read what anime are coming to theaters, and then they disappeared. They didn't get deleted. They're still there. They're just not displaying. Well, I can safely tell you that there we go. We got... Oh, no. I'm going to do this. Okay, Bungo Stray Dogs Dead Apple will be in theaters May 2nd, 5th, and 6th. Following that, Lou Over the Wall, which is the one I'm most interested in, is May 11th. Now, can I get the other ones to show up? I know Digimon Adventures Try will be in theaters at some point, but will it ever display when? There we go, May 10th! Digimon Adventures Try Coexistence, and then Porco Rosso. Come on, you know you want to display Porco. There we go. Porco Rosso. May 20th, 21st, and 23rd. I wish I had video of this, because this is a very ludicrous bug with the computer right now. I can't... Just chunks of pages glitch out and vanish. It's magical. Anyway, I will deal with this situation, and I'll be back in a minute. Until then, here's Topeka by Ludo here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and please stay tuned for more GameBabble Live. That was Lovin' Planets by Matthias and the Pirates here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, joined now by spontaneous sidekick Sully.
The man who sits in his basement for a week playing the same game on a harder difficulty every time he beats it.
So what else is new? And this is GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, we discussed what new games were coming out and what anime are in theaters in spite of some very interesting technical hiccups. Now it's time for random video game news. First of all, let's just get this out of the way. The Good Life by Swery has been teased for a possible Nintendo Switch release if it gets made, and it is only 100,000 away from its goal, but it only has 3 more days to go. Can it make it? Here's hoping. Because, it's Swery. He's the guy behind... If you're unfamiliar with Swery, he is the guy behind the infamous Deadly Premonition, and he also did a game called Spy Fiction, which was a much more polished title than Deadly Premonition. He had a proper team and less of a troubled development for that. But The Good Life looks like it'll be a much better game than Deadly Premonition. The premise behind it is that you play a woman who's a news reporter and goes to what is said to be the happiest town in the world, and there has been a murder there, and she also finds out that at night the residents of the town turn into either dogs or cats, depending upon which one you choose. There is a cat version and a dog version of the game, both included. You get to choose at the beginning. But yeah, at night everyone turns into cats and dogs, and that includes her now. And yeah, I think this will turn out much better because Deadly Premonition's best part of the game was running around town talking to people and getting to know the strange inhabitants, and the worst part was the combat and the action, which was tacked on at the last minute. Supposedly Deadly Premonition was never meant to have combat, but the publisher was like, you gotta put combat in this game, and so they tacked it on, and it was terrible. So this, being a game that will not have combat and be more about solving mysteries and whatnot, I think it'll turn out a lot better. There is a playable beta that you can try, and I'm hoping it gets funded. Unfortunately, I don't have exactly the most money to help back it. But that's a thing. Moving on, we've got a bunch of betas coming up. The Dark Souls Remastered network test for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One will be May 11th and 12th.
AKA, Sully gets salty because it's not PC.
That we know of. I mean, there might be a PC beta. There should be. I don't know why
we've had no news on a PC beta at all for us PC players for Dark Souls Remastered, sadly. And if anyone does, it'll be more popular YouTubers, if anything, because I believe it is only invite only.
Mm-hmm. And the test for the Switch version will be in the summer. At the same time, Stardew Valley's multiplayer beta starts soon on Steam and a little bit later on Good Old Games. So,
ooh, that might be something I have to get in.
Yeah, that would be that there's something PC related for you.
I love my PC, but give us more betas, please, guys.
Yeah, that'll happen, especially with Japanese developers who are very console-centric. Let's see. So,
they don't like us PC players, I'm just saying, man.
It's not that they don't like you, it's that they don't understand. Japanese game development, this needs to be understood, has always been very, very, very console-centric since the beginning of Japanese game development. And even when Japanese games were made on computer, they were made on computers that were much more like consoles. There were a ton of Japanese exclusive computer systems like the MSX and the PC-98, which had very static specs. So Japanese game developers, for the entirety of their existence, have honed their craft on having one solid, singular set of specs that they can optimize their game for. And Western game developers have been very much the opposite due to the video game crash of 1983, followed by the gaming sphere becoming very, very Japanese dominant, starting with the NES in 1985 and beyond, all the way up until 2006. Consoles were all owned by Japanese companies, and back then, when not a lot of people knew Japanese, and there was, more language barriers, not enough translators, it was hard to get good communication with the Japanese companies. Most Western developers focused very much on PCs because it was a very Western market, and that's always caused this very interesting divide between Eastern and Western developers. But still, that's part of the thing, because in Japan, it is still not common for people to play games on PC. They don't upgrade their PCs constantly. They don't really play games on PC. If you want,
besides the Korean, which are currently dominating in both Dota 2 and League of Legends.
Oh yeah, no, I'm only talking about Japan. Now there's another flip for you. In Korea, it is very, very, very PC centric because they hate Japan. I'm not even kidding. They don't want to make games on consoles because they hate Japan. That's why the Korean RPG Magna Carta 2 was Xbox 360 exclusive, because, oh, hey, that's an American company. We don't mind putting a game on that. But Japanese consoles, and there's a lot of reasons why they still resent Japan. Japan's very good at sweeping their past war crimes and past everything under the rug. That's what Japan does.
But we're not a history channel. So.
We're not a history channel. I don't know specifics. I just know Korea hates Japan. And then, of course, China is also very PC-centric. Kind of. They have their own weird consoles. China's a bit odd, but yeah, Korea and China are very PC-centric. America's PC-centric. Japan is the land of the console. They ruled the console market from 1985 to 2006. And, yeah, just that's how...
And technically they still do, considering Sony's originally a Japan-based company.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
So is Nintendo, and
the Xbox One is a little bit of a fumble. The 360 was really good for 2/3 of its life. But... Microsoft started dropping the ball once the Kinect came out. That was actually when they lost. This is actually an interesting discussion, I think. That was actually when they lost their Japanese player base. Because in Japan, they weren't very big fans of the Xbox or Xbox 360. And what few fans they had thought of the Xbox consoles as the perverts' consoles. And there were a lot of games that were released exclusively on 360 that were a bit raunchy, like the original Galgun. Galgun started as a 360 exclusive, which is nuts because it's a light gun shooter, and they put it on the one system that didn't have a light gun. But Galgun was actually where this whole thing fell apart, because a lot of people thought Galgun was going to be a Kinect game, even though it wasn't, and it came out a little bit after the Kinect, and because of that, Microsoft, with the release of the Kinect, was like, we want to be a more family-friendly company, we want to change our image, so they forced the developers of Galgun to censor their game. Now, what's funny, they launched a censored trailer for Galgun 1, and then released the game uncensored, and then Microsoft caught them, and they had to release a patch to censor the game later.
Which obviously made people angry.
Yes.
You included.
A little bit. I didn't care that much, but the result was amazing. Because then Sony loosened up some of their regulations, and all the 360 exclusive, kind of perverted games rushed to PS3. The 360 lost, all of its Japanese exclusives, and the PS3 versions were way better, including Galgun, because the PS3 version of Galgun supported the PlayStation Move, so you could actually play it as a proper light gun shooter, and had a ton of enhancements. And no, it was not only not censored, it was anti-censored. It was slightly raunchier than the 360 release. It is a way, way better game on PS3 entirely because of that move. The only issue was the Onechan-bara games and Earth Defense Force did not port to PS3 well. They were very much designed for 360 and ran better on 360, but they still ported them to PS3. And yeah, just Microsoft effectively lost their Japanese market in an instant when that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, Japanese game development has always been very console-centric, and right now they're understanding, Americans play games on PC, so we should port our games. If we want them to sell in America, we should port them to PC. But they're not very well-versed in optimizing. Some companies are. A lot of companies aren't good at optimizing their games for PC, and it's often a very straight port. It's, okay, we take the PlayStation 4 data and we make it runnable on PC. I hope your PC is a PlayStation 4.
And the good thing about Japanese companies not really knowing how to port very well to PC is that we get the hilarious dubs, and that's how we get the hilarious dubs in the process.
I don't know if that has anything to do with the dubbing.
Well, if they spend a lot of their money on porting it, and it was exclusively pretty much made for Japanese consoles originally, then if they bring it to the PC and they have to dub it for, like, Steam or whatever, then we get some pretty, sometimes hilarious dubs.
I don't know any instances of that happening, because Steam has never, like, required a dub.
Very true. But if they want to release it in, like, if they want to not region it, so that Steam will say, this is only available in a language, guess what? They don't have it in yours. Because that happens quite a few times with some of the free games off of Greenlight.
Yeah, that's a point.
If you want to have it be able to be released in pretty much in another region on Steam, you have to get it made for multiple languages. Otherwise, people with settings of certain regions won't see it at all.
Right, but that wouldn't necessarily be dubs. That would also include just subs and text. But
Very
yes,
true.
We do get a lot of very interesting, some very interesting translations, like Princess Maker 5, which got pushed back to this Friday, and I'm very excited to play it. Still, very much so. But yeah, so that is one of the things with Japanese games. That's why the PC ports tend to be kind of iffy. In some cases, they contract out to Western companies to do their ports, and others, they slap it on PC, fix it later. And it's all a bit of a...
It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Speaking of the PC, good news. Remember last week when I was talking about Blade Strangers, the crossover fighting game with characters from Cave Story?
Yes.
It's getting a PC release.
Oh boy.
It is Switch, PS4, and PC.
Guess who's buying that as soon as it comes out?
Indeed. And also, I've been saying...
Do we have a release date on that, actually?
No, it just says summer.
Dang.
So soon-ish. But yeah, here's a fun one. Speaking of PC releases being for America, for the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about Saga Scarlet Grace, which did not have a U.S. release announced, but they said it was coming to PC, and I said that's as good as saying you're making a U.S. release. They have now officially confirmed an English version is in development. No surprises here. But I am very happy.
Expected it.
I am very happy to sell some churros. Things are going to get awesome.
I've talked the past few weeks about Sinner's Sacrifice for Redemption because I'm obsessed with it.
Go ahead.
It is officially confirmed now that the last official release date that it has been pushed back to Q3 of 2018, so somewhere around the fall is when it's going to be released. Makes me kind of upset because I was looking forward to that. I know a few friends who were. But if they take the time that they now have and perfect it and make everything great, I'm not going to complain too much if it's a great game. I'm just going to sulk in my basement about it.
Indeed. Thank goodness we've got some other things coming out, although it's summer. It's a summer game drought. We already saw that when I was listing off the new releases. There's not too much exciting coming out right now.
But it does mean that the Steam Summer Sale will be coming up soon, which means that those earlier games released in the year that everyone was so excited for will be on probably a big discount, so then everyone can pick them up, which is the best thing ever. Steam, I don't have to tell you, Lord Gaben, how much I have to give you my money every day. It's pretty much what happens at the Steam Summer Sale. I spend like $200 or something on just new games.
Cripes. I know. I hear that is a thing that happens to people who actually play
because
PC games.
all the PC games are like 75% off.
I know,
and it's like Far Cry 5, $20. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, the Steam sales are
kind of ridiculous.
Kind of ridiculous. I've gotten a few games from them, but because I just don't trust my computer to play PC games. I've had so many weird issues, like the thing that's happening here at the computer at the station, where random splotches of the screen become scrambled for absolutely no reason.
It's kind of funny, though. I'm watching it right now.
I know. I don't understand. I'm just assuming the graphics card is pooing itself, which is weird. I had to see what it affects and what it doesn't affect. It doesn't look like it affects Internet Explorer, but it's affecting Firefox and
Chrome.
Chrome. It's affecting Chrome, and it's affecting Word. Microsoft Word is definitely affected by whatever this bug is. Moving on, let's see. Let's talk a little bit Nintendo before we take a break. First of all, Nintendo has patented using multiple screens linked together, like where you're able to take two different screens and set them down next to one another and have a character walk across them as one giant map.
What?
Yeah, it's hard to describe, but there's a fantastic picture of it, and all I can do is look at it and say, "Oh yeah, so that's for the Switch." It is a very
interesting thing.
It's flagrantly Switch. You will totally take your Switch screen and lay it down on a table next to another person's Switch screen, and there we go. There's the picture. If it pops up. See? They're showing... That's a nice picture there. The Pong. They're showing a Pong where you're bouncing the ball between the two screens.
Now I'm just waiting for...
and then there's this. See the character walking across.
Now I'm just waiting for, 100 people to get together and just put their Switch screens.
Ooh! According to this picture, they're going to set it up where they can go in the space between the screens that you can't see. It's
interesting.
And then some kind of touch nonsense for bowling. That looks more 3DS-like, following a touch finger across multiple... Okay, whatever kind of wacky nonsense you want to do, that is a banana. I am glad you have patented this picture of a banana, Nintendo. Oh, it's in 2D, and then it's...
it's Banana Labo.
Banana Labo. On that note, can Nintendo just make all their new systems out of cardboard? Because apparently they're better at it. I was watching a stream of someone putting together the Robot Labo and using it, and for some reason, the Robot Labo works better than the Wiimote ever did, even with the Motion Plus, and better than the regular Switch controllers when you're doing 1-2 switch and stuff. Somehow, the stupid cardboard and reflective tape setup they have going for the Robot Labo apparently works almost flawlessly.
It's because, cardboard's the best building material a man has ever seen.
Apparently, I was talking to a friend of mine who's in toy advertising and development, and his response was, well, yeah, it's really easy to prototype things with cardboard. It's like, that's a thing I hadn't thought of. You just throw something together in cardboard, doesn't work out, get some more cardboard, throw another thing together, you can do it super fast, at least if you know how to fold up some cardboard.
I mean, when I had to do a high school robotics competition, our first prototype's body was literally just a thing of cardboard. It was a cardboard box that we put wheels on, basically, and we went and saw how it went.
Indeed. Yeah, it's... Yeah, Labo was interesting. I remember last week I said that I had heard some rumors that Labo might have outsold God of War.
It's probably false by now.
Possibly false. It's hard to read because some things are saying the opposite and some things are saying that. So it's all conflicting information. I can't get anything solid. But the Labo is interesting. I do kind of want to mess around with it. I just don't exactly have the funding or really a good place to put all that cardboard.
Yeah, cardboard,
Yeah, and also it is.
Yep, it's official now. God of War has flattened Nintendo Labo's review.
Well, maybe official. Like I said, everything is up in the air with that. I can't trust any news sometimes.
So, the current top 10 chart for games right now is God of War, Far Cry 5, Nintendo Labo, FIFA, Mario Kart 8, Fallout 4, Call of Duty, Super Mario Odyssey, PUBG, and then GTA 5.
Indeed.
Interesting that GTA 5 has stayed on that list for all the years it's been released.
yeah, and I do have to give credit. Like, if you can, it is worth possibly looking up a video of some people, even just like briefly, of people messing around with the Nintendo Labo, because, I mean, to their credit, it is a very polished thing. Way too many people look at it and go, so I'm paying this much money for cardboard? No, you're paying that much money for the software. The cardboard is cheap.
Paying the money for the cardboard in a disc.
Yeah, and well, not even a disc.
Well,
it's
a cartridge, yeah.
But
we went back in the ages.
But the thing is, there's, like, the way they have how to build your Labo stuff set up in there is really impressive, because it's, like, animated, and you can rewind and fast forward, and it's modeled in 3D, so you can rotate around it, and it's got humorous text to make it all, like, funny and fun. And then it is meant to be a learning tool, so they have a section where they explain how all the elements of the Nintendo Labo work and why they work, and you can test out the gyroscopes and look at all sorts of just goofy things. There's a reason why some schools are actually, like, trying to see if they can get Labos for their classroom for teaching things. Like, I could see that.
So that's where the funding went for more Breath of the Wild DLC.
But I will say, the robot kit takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to build. These are not short builds. A lot of these do take a hot minute to get done.
Now I'm just thinking that you watched a 3-hour stream of a guy messing around with cardboard.
It was more like a 6 or 7 hour stream. Because after he built it and tried it out, he then went back and decided to paint it. Like, all the way, because, like, I'm going all in with this. It was entertaining. It was Rising Superstar Liam. So if you look up the Rising Super stream, there is, like, a 6-7 hour Labo video on there. It's a thing. But anyway, I think it's time we take a break, and when we come back, we will continue with more video game news, because I think Sully just found something.
Oh, I've been up here just on my phone looking at new stuff, because I don't come in prepared. You write a script and everything. I'm just like,
I write a
what's new today?
I write a list of things like the night before. But anyway, I did this one at like 4 a.m. Anyway, here is Brand Spankin' Blue by Jeremiah Johnson Band here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned. That was Street Kings by YFN Lucy featuring Meek Mill here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, still joined by spontaneous sidekick Sully.
The basement-dwelling PC player for the ages.
As opposed to the basement-dwelling console player with a PlayStation VR. And welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show. It airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, you had some things to say.
Oh, yeah, I was looking at stuff.
You were.
Over the break.
Mostly that Red Dead Redemption 2 is
Oh, yeah, yeah. I forgot that Red Dead Redemption 2, a beloved game, similar to, I'm completely lost right now because I'm so excited.
Right, it's made by Rockstar. Okay, the funniest thing about the Red Dead series was Red Dead Revolver, because that was a Capcom game. That back on PS2, Red Dead Revolver was made by Capcom. It was canceled, and then Rockstar bought it and said, "We'll finish and release this game."
And renamed it also.
No, they kept Red Dead Revolver.
Oh.
But then it got the sequel, Red Dead Redemption, which became one of the big games of the previous console generation. you could kinda, sorta call it, Old West Grand Theft Auto.
That's exactly what everyone compares it to.
Well, yeah, because Grand Theft Auto is what they make. Point is, it's a big open world Wild West game that a lot of people really loved, and so of course people are very excited for a sequel, and they did a teaser trailer that showed nothing except that there was going to be a Red Dead Redemption 2, and now...
And then the hype beasts came and are hyping it up to all hell.
Yeah, no, it's... And the thing is, I don't think they've shown anything else. Let's double check.
Not much, but I do know its release date, October 26th, is what it says on this website, so we'll see how it goes.
Hey, there is an official trailer number 2, apparently. Okay, I guess that
apparently
does look
they
like...
got busy.
It does. There is some... Kinda looks like in-game footage, but it's not actual gameplay footage. It's just people talking... Cutscenes. People talking at a camera. Yeah, there's, we don't know a lot about it, and there's a lot of reason to be concerned about it.
Because, once again, it is a beloved game, and if they do this wrong, people are going to get mad at them. But then they'll release GTA 6, and then everyone will love them again, because... That's pretty much exactly how that goes.
Well, at this point, it's kind of questionable because Grand Theft Auto Online is too successful. GTA 5's whole online thing has been a massive, massive moneymaker to the point where there's good reason to suspect they'll do the same with Red Dead Redemption 2. It might turn into a pseudo MMO thing. And
Very true.
And there's a lot of questionability there, but who knows? Because the thing is, Rockstar makes their games very slowly. They haven't really made anything after Grand Theft Auto 5 yet, so we don't know what impact Grand Theft Auto Online will have. Maybe they'll just be like, Grand Theft Auto Online's fine, and Red Dead Redemption will be a mostly good single-player game, and then maybe it'll have some online elements, or it could be way too online-centric. We'll find out when it gets here.
Yeah, it's still quite a way away, coming in the third quarter of the year, along with Sinners, Sacrifice for Redemption. As you can tell, I'm still salty about that. Recently, I think maybe last week, Square Enix Productions has released the full reveal of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It looks promising. I'm not going to lie, I usually don't get a lot into the Tomb Raider games, because I find them... Because I'm a game hippie, and I find it way too mainstream. But I do find it interesting. It's once again in the pre-original Lara Croft timeline. At this point, it's more confusing than the Legend of Zelda timeline.
Yeah, Tomb Raider's been rebooted a lot of times, because what's extra double frustrating is way back in the day, there was one Tomb Raider game where you played as young Lara Croft in the tutorial, and that is clearly not referenced at all by the newer Tomb Raider reboot.
Which is supposed to connect to younger Lara Croft.
Yeah,
no one knows where anything is at this point.
No one knows where anything is. The timeline's a mess, and I'm going to be honest, I have a love-hate relationship with the series, because I never really liked the old Tomb Raiders. They definitely weren't my thing. The newer one, I played the first one of those, and while it was more playable, oh, egad, do I have so much hate for it. It focused... I am a stickler for controls. If a game controls super tight, I will love it. I've spoken volumes about how good Ys Origins feels because of that. But some games really focus more on their presentation, and the Tomb Raider reboot used a system that made the movement and walking very, very realistic, with Lara's gait changing depending upon the terrain, and she'll put her hand on the wall as you move past it. And it does all this stuff to make it look very, very natural and real.
But it doesn't matter if the controls are horrible for doing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In order to do this very realistic movement that is very impressive, they have to put a huge honking delay in the controls, so that way it can smooth out all your inputs, and so, you can't spin Lara in place. That's
it almost becomes a point-and-click adventure game.
Not quite, no, because point-and-click adventure games control better. They do! You click on a spot, your character goes there. It doesn't feel like you're pushing through molasses. In the Tomb Raider reboot, it felt like I was grabbing Lara's shoulders and pushing her along. It was very awkward. Like, if you spun the analog stick, she wouldn't spin in place. She'd, like, fidget just a little bit. So that should give you an idea of how big the delay was. And just in general, I had issues with the game. Back on my personal channel, there is a video of exactly where I stopped playing the game. And a lot of people told me I'm just really bad at the game. I believe that, but there were just a lot of elements about this one combat section that didn't make sense to me. Like, number one, an arrow that is on fire does less damage than an arrow that is not on fire.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the reason for that is if you get a critical hit with a flaming arrow, it sets the enemy on fire and they take damage over time, whereas if you get a critical hit with a regular arrow, it instantly kills them. I did not know this at the time. I had a lot of trouble with getting the melee weapon to work right and with characters just surprising me. One of my favorite scenes is when I think I've killed everyone, everything is completely silent, I start climbing a ladder and I get shot in the back and die. And I'm like, where did these people come from?
It's Doom 3. You didn't know? They just spawned.
I don't even know. I did not like the Tomb Raider reboot, so I didn't play the second one, and I'm not going to play the third one. But
there is one promising scene in the most recent trailer for the full reveal of the new Tomb Raider where Lara just goes completely, basically insane and just starts stabbing everyone.
Oh, good, because I need to care about her even less. That was the other weird thing. The one thing I will give the Tomb Raider reboot credit for is that it actually made me feel bad for killing random enemies. Because they actually wrote them out. Like, there's a scene where, like, these two enemies, like, there's a lot of scenes where the enemies are talking to one another, and I shot one of them, and instead of doing the usual, who's there? And they start shooting you, the guy actually said, hey dude, are you okay? Dude?
Oh, no.
And I actually felt bad about it. I actually had more sympathy for the random enemies than I did for Lara Croft, mostly because that first one had 5 different writers, and she was a completely different character in every single cutscene.
To be fair, the people in the new Tomb Raider game, from what I've seen, they're all cultists trying to sacrifice people, so it's pretty much justified.
Again? Is that what they're doing in Shadow of the Tomb Raider?
That's what I've seen, is that there's a bunch of cultists trying to sacrifice, like, a little girl or something. I don't know.
Again. Because that was what was going on in the first one, was all these people got shipwrecked.
It's just a big continuous story.
All these people got shipwrecked on this island, and the only way they could find to get off was that they had to, like, sacrifice someone who was a descendant of, what's her name? Himiko. Like the first empress of Japan or something, who's playable in Warriors Orochi. But, yeah, so they were trying to find, so, like, the idea was you had to sacrifice someone who's a descendant of Himiko, so her spirit could possess them. And so, pretty much, they sacrificed every single woman they could come across in a desperate attempt to get off the island.
Man, makes Lord of the Flies sound tame.
I don't know. But, still, it was a thing. And that's that, yeah. I'm not a fan of the series, but boy howdy, there sure is a new one coming.
And everyone's excited.
In theory. You know what? Let's get back to the Nintendo news, because I forgot to finish that. Aside from them patenting the multiple screen thing, first of all, the current Nintendo president, Tatsumi Kimishima, will be stepping down and replaced with Shuntaro Furukawa, who will be formally appointed June 28th, 2018. This might sound alarming, but it's really not, because the problem was, of course, we lost our last Nintendo president to medical issues, and the company's kind of been scrambling to find someone to take his place.
So he was kind of like just a placeholder at the time.
Yeah, Tatsumi Kimishima was very much a placeholder, but he did a good job as a placeholder, all things considered. I mean, with the way the Switch turned out.
He led Labo into existence.
He led Labo into existence. He did a good job. And Satoru Iwata will forever be missed, because that's what they're desperately trying to find, because Iwata was so good, because he actually, like, got on camera and was charismatic and delivered news direct to you. And people loved Iwata because he was very personal, he was very open, he seemed like a fun guy, he was a very good personality for the company, and I think they're really hoping to find another one of those. I know nothing about Shintaro Furukawa, but, other than he played Famicom as a kid. Okay, who didn't? But I wish him the best, and hopefully he does a good job. Also, sometime this month, Nintendo will give more details about its online service. So there's probably going to be a Nintendo Direct somewhere this
Woohoo,
month.
$60 for a year.
I don't know if that was the exact price, but
probably somewhere along those lines.
It was low, actually. Like, Nintendo was only charging a couple bucks a month because they know their online service is not on par with
Sony and Xbox.
Yeah.
Even though Xbox's service is questionable.
Nowadays it is, because their interface is garbage.
The part where Sony and Xbox are so expensive is because they knew people were angry that they were already charging this month, so they added free games.
And Nintendo,
and then that justified it.
Yeah, Nintendo's going to do free games too, but they're all going to be old games, but at the same time it's going to be cheaper. That was one of the things. They were like, oh, we'll give you a free virtual console title, and initially it was going to be, oh, it's only free for that month, and a lot of people really complained, and Nintendo was like, okay, fine, we'll give it to you for free. So
I'm looking at more stuff, and some May games coming up for this month, because it's now May 1st. Mm-hmm. School's ending. Thank you. State of Decay 2, a zombie game. You can take co-op up to 4 players, and you all have to, I guess, agree to not stab each other in the back to live while the rest of you die, to fight zombies, which seems pretty neat. Another one, I've always advocated how much of a horror fan I am on the show, and so when I hear that May 29th, a new game about running through hell itself, and it's labeled, that's a combination between named and labeled, Agony, it just seems to be pretty good.
Yeah, here's hoping.
And apparently a new vampire game, Vampire, June 5th. That looks pretty neat. Cast you as the recently fanged Jonathan Reed in the Victorian-style streets of 1918 London. You have the options of being London's savior or hunting human prey. So that seems pretty neat, actually. A game where you are the vampire, and you can choose to be good or bad.
Good
so,
times.
That seems pretty neat.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Agony overall, because, like I've said, I'm the horror advocate of the century. So.
Indeed. Let's see, what else have I got here? Talked about Nintendo, so that's very good. No, let's hit up that fighting game character news. First of all, Super Saiyan Blue Vegito is confirmed as the next Dragon Ball FighterZ character. Get hyped for more Gokus, because that's what they're releasing. Thus far, that leaked list seems to be holding true. On the plus side, that means we'll probably be getting cooler soon. On the minus side, that means we'll probably be getting Vanilla Goku and Vanilla Vegeta. Yeah, this has been a kind of... The characters seem to play well, but it's a very boring selection of characters for this first season pass. And there's a bunch of people who are like, well, that's the last time I buy a season pass without knowing what's in it. And it's like, yeah, should have learned that lesson. Why would you buy a season pass without knowing what's in it? I don't know. You should have some idea of what's coming up. I'm hoping that we get a second season, though, so that way they can put some good characters in there, because I like Dragon Ball FighterZ. That is a good fighting game, but this character selection is lacking. But, yeah, Super Saiyan Blue Vegito is confirmed to be coming. And also, this is something that'll make a lot more people happy. Taki is confirmed for Soul Calibur 6. I know Taki has a ton of fans, many of which were very salty that she was not in Soul Calibur 5, and is probably the main reason why Soul Calibur 6 is a pseudo-alt-universe reboot version of Soul Calibur 1. That's why they're rolling back the clock, because Soul Calibur 5 was such a screw-up. They tried to do a, Soul Calibur the Next Generation type thing, where it's, here are the descendants and pupils of all the classic Soul Calibur characters.
Which didn't work.
It didn't work because they forgot to put any story in the game. They had no endings. So there's all these new characters and absolutely nothing in-game to tell you who they are. And that drove me nuts, because I actually liked one of the new characters. I liked Taki's replacement, Natsu, but nowhere in the game is there any explanation for who or what Natsu is, or why she's there, or what she's doing, because there were no endings for the arcade mode, and the story mode focused entirely on Patroclus, the worst protagonist in a video game ever. And I mean that.
Can't be much worse than pretty much any transported to another world with only your phone anime.
No, Patroclus is actually worse. Because
that takes skill.
That's the thing. Patroclus is a monster. He's not I'm just the overpowered main character. No, he is a monster. He is a bad person who does not know that he is a bad person. He has a psychotic obsession with killing anyone who might have been touched by the Soul Edge. And even if there's even the slightest hint of it, he will just murder them in cold blood. He doesn't realize he's being manipulated by the lamest emperor ever, who in turn is being manipulated by... The story for Soul Calibur 5 was so
Doesn't
bad.
exist.
Oh no, it's there. There's a plot. It's just bad. Because, as it turns out, the emperor that Patroclus is taking orders from, he's the new Nightmare. He's being controlled by the Soul Edge. But this is my favorite part. Okay, so, Nightmare has sort of his own Harley Quinn tag-along character named Tira. And Tira is, really the central villain of the game, and I actually completely agree and sympathize with her. She is trying to find a new host for the Soul Edge because the Emperor is lame. She's like, I don't like the new Nightmare that is controlled by this Emperor guy. I'm gonna find it a new host because this Emperor guy is lame. And she's aiming for Patroclus' sister.
Just so lame. That's great.
It is. But the worst part, halfway through the game, halfway through the story mode, you stumble across Team Asia. Which is Jiba, I don't even remember their names. It's Maxi, the Kilik replacement, and the Xianghua replacement, and Natsu. And it's very clear that they're the real protagonists of the game, and you just sort of bump into them, and you don't get to see what their story is at all. They're in the middle of some kind of quest you never see, happens completely off-screen. The only hint of it is in, some text in the art book. And that was so frustrating. You've introduced all these new characters, and you don't tell us who they are. On top of the fact that the game was, in a lot of ways, I've nicknamed it a contraction pack. Because it's pretty much just Soul Calibur 4, but less. On the plus side, it had better netcode and was faster, but it had less characters and less moves than Soul Calibur 4. Had more stages, credit there. But Soul Calibur 4 actually had unique character endings. It was a weird trade-off. And that's because Namco doesn't know how to handle the Soul Calibur series.
Nobody does.
Oh, plenty of people do. I could handle the Soul Calibur series, but anyway, we need to take a quick break. So here's Rally by Fior here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. That was Dream Girl by Incredible Gang featuring Nick Cannon and Jay. I think a name got cut off. Anyway, welcome back to GameBabble Live here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jel, still joined for at least a little bit longer by spontaneous sidekick Sully.
Once again, as every week the 2 o'clock classes approach. They're on the horizon, their steeds glistening in the distance.
Quite. So, slightly more fighting game news. Sylvie Paula and Zarina are confirmed for SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy, which will be on Switch and PS4, and there's always a chance of a PC port later. It is, if you haven't been seeing this thing, it is a goofy-looking all-girl tag team fighting game featuring mostly characters from King of Fighters 14, because they can just recycle the models, and no difference here. Thus far, like, the only really new one has been Shermie. It was great to see Shermie back. But yeah, Sylvie and Zarina are there. They'll have alternate outfits and accessories, and yeah, it
all your gaming needs.
Quite. And yeah, I look forward to playing this game. Looks like it could be fun. Have you gotten any new news recently, Sully?
You mean in the break we took?
Yeah.
Other than I learned that Agony is probably going to be, if they do it right, the best horror game of the year.
That is a statement.
Before the break, I talked about Agony. If you're still listening from the break, which is a survival horror, RPG-ish, apparently, according to it. I don't know much about that part. Horror game that takes place in literal hell. It has you walking through corridors with bodies, stairs made of flesh, stuff like that. And the graphics, from what I've seen, look amazing. It's like, these things look realistic as demons can get. And if they do this right, and they add more green and blues to their blood instead of it just being a bright red, from those pictures that I saw, then they have a chance to become the best horror game, I feel, of the year. It says, people have said it looks like it takes vibes from Outlast 2, but Outlast 2, as most of us know, wasn't that good. So, we'll see how it turns out. It looks to be amazing.
Indeed.
And I'm looking forward to playing that. I believe it comes out May 29th. So, I'm getting that as soon as it's available.
All right. Well then, let's talk Neptunia, because we got 2 pieces of Neptunia news.
Is it the VR one?
No, I already mentioned earlier that the VR one looks like a disaster. I'm not buying that. It is literally just Hyperdimension Neptunia V2, which came out like a couple of years ago.
With a model viewer.
Not a model viewer, but close. The VR section is just the various characters visiting you in your room and you talking to them. You cannot play the main game in VR.
That's sad.
And it is full priced. If it was lower priced, I'd be all about it just because they're putting the movement circle back in. Because my biggest beef with Hyperdimension Neptunia V2 was that they took away the movement circle. The way the battle system works is when it's your turn, you can move your character freely around the arena within this circle.
Who's the developer of this game?
Compile Heart and Idea Factory.
Are they dumb?
Idea Factory is dumb, yes. But when it's your turn, you can move your character around in this circle, and... Well, why do you say that?
Simply because they're making it full priced. For a game that's been out for a while now.
Yeah, for some minor upgrades and an added VR mode. It's like, that's really scummy and scammy.
You could have put that up in an update.
Yeah, or just make it a standalone game. I would have thrown a couple bucks at a standalone, hey, let's hang out with the Neptunia girls in your room thing. That could have been fun, but them making it a separate game is annoying. But yeah, at least they're putting the movement circle back in. Like I said, on your turn, you move around within this one circle, and for Neptunia V2, they changed it to a meter, where the more you moved, the more this meter drained, and I was like, this doesn't work because I don't have a clear visual indicator of where the edges of my movement are. And I'm glad that they put that back in. Apparently a lot of the other new additions completely break the game and make it way easier. So that's a thing. Either way, I'll get that when it hits a bargain bin, because I'm not paying full price for Neptunia V2. But what we are getting is Neptunia Rebirth 1 Plus, which is a enhanced version of the remake of Neptunia 1, aka the one that actually needed a remake. Because Neptunia 1 was trash, and even the people who made it agree it's trash. And they later remade it on the Vita, and then they ported the Vita version to PC, and now they're going to take that and put it on PS4, but with some additions, the most interesting being that...
A model viewer.
No.
I have to make the joke every time.
No, there will be no VR here, but it will add Red Entertainment, Cave, 5PB, and Falcom. Now, if you're a super hardcore fan of Hyperdimension Neptunia, you'll say, wait a second, weren't those the DLC characters for the original Hyperdimension Neptunia? Yes, they were. They are putting the DLC characters back in the game after they were pretty much removed for the remake of Rebirth because of all sorts of issues. This makes me happy because, of course, my favorite character in the series is P-Shy and Red Entertainment. And Red Entertainment has a very interesting history because she was in the first game, and then she was removed from the series because the company she represented was bought out by, like, a Chinese company, only to come back in Rebirth 2 to replace Nippon Ichi's character, which in turn makes Rebirth 2 better than the original because Red Entertainment is the best character. I love her! And, the thing with Red Entertainment is she views the entire world as a dating sim, so she tries to get with all of the different characters in the game. But
that sounds interesting.
But, like, she views the world as a dating sim, so she's like, oh, did I trigger the wrong event? I should have made a different choice.
Let's go back and fix that. I've reloaded my save file.
I need to reload my... Yes, stuff like that. And so Red is very fun because of that. She's a great character. But yes, they will all be added back in for Neptunia Rebirth 1 Plus. The weird one that I haven't really talked about is Brave Neptune, which I've finally looked into now that they've shared more screenshots. Brave Neptune is a Hyperdimension Neptunia game being made by a Western developer, which immediately raised red flags for me.
Yeah.
Because Neptunia is about the most Japanese game you could possibly get. But then I find out that
That's an understatement.
But then I find out that this Western developer is French, but they moved to Canada, which gives me a little bit more faith, but it's still a weird mix of... One thing I will say, the game looks gorgeous. I would even say it looks too gorgeous for a Neptunia game. But in terms of gameplay, it is going to be pure 2D, and it is going to play like Valkyrie Profile. Like, almost identical to Valkyrie Profile, which if you don't know what Valkyrie Profile is, Indivisible. Indivisible is blatantly inspired by Valkyrie Profile. They've admitted as such. So it will play like Valkyrie Profile and Indivisible. So that means the dungeons will be side-scrolling. You jump around, you swing your sword at monsters, and then when you engage in combat, each character is assigned to a different face button on the controller, and you hit that button to make that character attack, and you time your attacks to do crazy juggle combos for a weird action turn-based hybrid battle system. I love the original Valkyrie Profile. I am very amused at how much it has inspired so many other games to copy its combat system. There are a lot of games kind of like it now, and it looks like this could make it a good game, but I'm still really, really iffy because Neptunia is as Japanese as it gets. The entire plot is built around the Japanese game industry, and it's like, I don't know if it would work without that. But at the same time, this is the first time I'm actually glad thus far it looks like P-Shy is not in the game, even though she's my favorite character. Because I need to explain something. This is a very good example of why I'm iffy on a Western developer handling this. A lot of people think P-Shy represents PC gaming. She doesn't. She represents the PC engine, which is the TurboGrafx 16. Now, in America, the TurboGrafx 16 was a massive flop and a laughingstock, and everyone sort of makes fun of it. It wasn't that big of a deal. In Japan, the TurboGrafx 16 dominated the video game industry. It actually managed to crush the Famicom eventually. It lasted for 10 years and even destroyed both of its successors. They tried to make the Super Graphics and the PCFX, and neither of them could compare to the original, to the TurboGrafx 16. But the thing that caused it to take off, this is where things get even crazier. The thing that caused the TurboGrafx-16 to take off was the CD-ROM drive. And here in America, we think about CD-ROM attachments to game consoles, and we think of the Sega CD, and we go, oh, that was a big flop, haha, FMV games. But the TurboGrafx, the PC Engine, when they added that CD expansion, they didn't use it for FMV games. The PC Engine could barely, the TurboGrafx could barely do FMVs. It could, but it took a lot. So what that extra space was used for was voice acting and cutscenes and making really huge games, because we're talking 8 16-bit games. Those are really small in size. When you have a full CD to work with, you can make your games massive, and the result was that the TurboGrafx in Japan got huge, lengthy RPGs and lots and lots and lots of visual novels, which, of course, aren't things that sell well in America, so that made it a hard sell in America. We didn't get a lot of these games. So that's why you have this big divide, but, like, it's also why the character just almost doesn't work unless you know a lot about the Japanese game industry, and that's part of the reason why I like it.
All right, before I have to go here, I do have a few announcements, as I always do, about Hollow Knight, the game I play in my basement every day. Recently, April 13th or whatever, probably should have mentioned this a few weeks ago then, the Hollow Knight update Lifeblood has released, where they released a few new bosses, well, one new boss, and upgraded a few others. Apparently a comic came out, which seems pretty interesting. Gods and Glory, I've mentioned, which is the new content pack, should be coming sometime this year. And apparently I've heard rumors. Sully the Rumor King over here has heard after Gods and Glory, there will be either no more Hollow Knight stuff, or maybe something released on the year anniversary. Maybe. But then after that, they'll be working on a completely new IP. So I'm excited to see what Team Cherry has in store for us.
Indeed. Well, anything else?
Nope, it's time for me to get to those two classes, though. So,
thank you
I was
for joining
Sully,
us.
And hope you all got a fantastic day.
Indeed. Coming up next is Say My Name by, I guess that's Odessa, featuring Zyra? Whatever. Here's Say My Name, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind, and stay tuned for the last section of GameBabble Live. Thank you so much. That was Pills and Automobiles by Chris Brown featuring Yo Gotti and A Boogie here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, as we are rounding into the end of the show, let's see what we've got here. First of all, Persona 3 and 5 dancing Star Knight and Moonlight. Got those backwards. Either way. They will randomly feature cross-dressing dudes. As an option, all the guys have various cross-dressing outfits, with many of them looking quite fabulous. Moving on, but no sign of the female main character from the Persona 3, was it PSP version or was it Vita version? I forget. But either way, the portable version had an option of a female main character, and she is not in the game yet. Lots of people have been hoping that she will be. If she is, she'll probably be DLC or something. Probably not, though. She's become kind of a weird thing in the Persona franchise, because a lot of people bring her up, and a lot of people like her, but the only reason she was able to even be implemented in Persona 3 was because Persona 3 was so incredibly story-sparse that they didn't need to add too terribly much for her. Moving on, Monster Hunter World's Devil May Cry event is live. So if you have Monster Hunter World, there is a special event going on where you can, like, team up with Dante and get, like, Dante outfits and stuff. So, cool thing there. And, yeah. Other than that, Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time will have a 3-player co-op multiplayer endless dungeon in the US release, both offline and online, which makes me very happy. apparently that was not in the initial Japanese release, but was patched in later. I will say Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time is a very interesting game, because it looks to be a side-scrolling beat-em-up, but where everyone is a mage, which is definitely an odd class to play in a side-scrolling beat-em-up. And on top of that, the graphics are cel-shaded very nicely, not quite as well as Arc System Works' Guilty Gear Xrd and Dragon Ball FighterZ, but like the next best cel shading. It's actually really nice looking. I tried to play a demo of it, actually, because there's a demo up on the Japanese store, but I eventually got stuck. It definitely has a language barrier. There's a lot of talking during the school sections of the game. But looks very interesting. The funny thing is that Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time comes out the exact same day as the US release of Dragon's Crown Pro, which is a port of Dragon's Crown to PS4, now with redone music and graphics that can be displayed in 4K resolution, which is an upgrade because Dragon's Crown was originally a Vita game, so even though it looked gorgeous on PS3, it didn't look as gorgeous as it could have. And it's funny, too, because Sony was actually using Dragon's Crown to sell 4K TVs, even though it was not a 4K game at all. It's just that freaking gorgeous. To anyone unfamiliar about Dragon's Crown, that was a side-scrolling beat-em-up from Vanillaware that came out a while back. Was mildly controversial due to the character designs, but it was a very fun game. Servers are still up, and they will continue to be up because the PlayStation 4 version is compatible with the PS3 and Vita versions. So, if you already have those, keep your eyes peeled, because more people will be coming online with the release of the PlayStation 4 version, and we can all get together and play the game. Then again, a lot of people have just stuck around for the game. The PS4 version is also supposed to have as like a pre-order bonus or something, this weird, like, digital pencil and paper choose-your-own-adventure tabletop RPG side mode thing. I haven't seen or heard much about it in a while, and I hope that they're translating that into English. We will certainly find out once it comes out. Right now, I'm disappointed because there doesn't seem to be a special edition with an art book. I was actually planning on buying whatever ridiculously overpriced special edition they'd come out with that had an art book, but they didn't do one for America. We just get, oh, hey, it's in a steel case, and I think it might come with something. But no art book, come on! I really want a Dragon's Crown art book. That game is gorgeous. I know one exists. Whatever. Either way, I look forward to purchasing Dragon's Crown for the third time when that comes out. Honestly, not sure how I'm going to pull that off considering my current money situation. But we will see. We will see. So yeah, that appears to be the latest news. Oh! Actually, let me go look that one up real quick. There is an indie game. There it is, Temtem. Some company called Crema Games. I guess they made a game called Immortal Redneck. Yeah, they made a game called Immortal Redneck, and their next game that they're going to be putting on Kickstarter soon is called Temtem, which is a multiplayer online Pokemon clone that looks very promising. Now, when I say a Pokemon clone, I mean a clone. It is very, very, very flagrantly designed to look like an online version of Pokemon, but at the same time, kinda what we're waiting on a lot. It's what we want. But we keep not hearing anything about it. So, it'll be neat to see how that goes. Yeah, the trailer looks really nice. They don't show any of the combat, but like the running around the world map with other players and their animals following behind them and getting into battles in the tall grass and stuff. It's all looking really promising. I just wonder if Nintendo's going to sue them out of existence. And also, I think Temtem is a stupid name. And also, I think the creature designs are really pretty lame. I don't know. There's a Nidoran looking thing that's kind of nice. But, yeah, we will see how this goes. But the idea of a multiplayer online monster raising and battling game is very appealing to me. They're actually, Shin Megami Tensei Imagine Online was kind of like that. I know there's an online Digimon game, and Monster Rancher had 2 MMORPGs that, unfortunately, those were Japanese only and have been shut down since then. But it's still something. It's something that hasn't gotten enough exploration, I don't think. Thus far, the ones we've gotten have been kind of disappointing. And I look forward to seeing how this one plays out. So yeah, that is a thing. Also, I guess it's worth mentioning, Nekopara Volume 1 will be coming to PS4 and Switch and launches June 21st in North America, Europe, and Japan. So we are getting it. Obviously, it will not have some of the raunchier scenes. It will be a censored version of the game because they can't release that on console. But a lot of people like it even with that content removed. I know the series is very popular. So yay, that'll be here. That will be a thing. So, I'm going to kick you all back to the music. Coming up next, we have Backpack by J3 here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned, because as we get into the final section of the show, we will discuss how Code 51 Mech Arena went from, this is lame and stupid, to, wow, this is amazing. So please stay tuned for that here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was The Way Life Goes by Lil Uzi Vert and Meek Mill here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell. We're coming up on the final section of GameBabble Live for the day. So, let us talk about Code 51 Mecha Arena and how it pulled itself out of a nosedive super hard. So last week, a couple of PlayStation VR games came out, and one of them was Code 51 Mecha Arena. Now, this was a game that was in development by a company called Smelly River, and so small company, small game, and they had been hyping this game on the PSVR subreddit for a while. Pretty much every time they finished designing a new mech, they'd make a thread about it and be like, hey, get hyped for Code 51 Mecha Arena, here's a new mech for it. Yeah, this will be exciting. And we were like, yeah, pretty good, can't wait for it to come out. And people were getting pretty excited, pretty hyped up, nothing really major on the PlayStation VR Horizon super soon. Here's Code 51 Mecha Arena. The trailers made it look super awesome. And then the game, but like the day before the game comes out, maybe the day before that, they start sending out review codes, and some gameplay footage of the game shows up. And people look at it and they go, oh no, because it used a vision mask. What the vision mask is as you move around in the game, your vision sort of irises out. You've got like a black border around, where you can see, and the more you move, the thicker that black border gets, irising out your view and restricting it. And as you stop moving around so much, it widens back out again. The theory behind this is that it reduces motion sickness to block out your peripheral vision while you move around. And you're going to be flying through the air and dodging super fast and maneuvering all over the place. So they figured that this would be a good solution for this. Just one little problem. What's this little problem? Oh dear. That sounds like a emergency thing test. Is it a test or is it real?
This is the required monthly test of the emergency alert system. This station serves the bi-state St. Louis operational area.
You're late. Bam. Bam. Well, that was awkward. So one little problem, we get interrupted by the monthly emergency alert, which I thought was supposed to be like around 11, but okay, fine. Make it at 2:38, no problems there. Anyway, the little problem with the vision blinders that Code 51 Mecha Arena uses is that there have been a couple games that use these, and they all make me really sick. The regular, all the comfort settings turned off, running around super fast in VR, no problems whatsoever for me. But those blinders make me sick because different people are affected in different ways. For me, I just freak out. It is really uncomfortable when making a sudden movement suddenly causes your vision to shrink. And it causes me to strain my eyes to see because my vision keeps getting smaller and smaller. And as I'm moving around, this vision area is growing and shrinking, and that distracts my eyes and causes some eye strain. What's interesting is that Code 51 Mecha Arena plays very similar to the game Rigs, which used the exact same thing, and it was a massive problem. In Rigs, they actually wouldn't let you turn off those blinders until after you beat the tutorial, which was like an hour long. It was really, really dumb. But yeah, Code 51 Mecha Arena, it launched with that and head-based turning, which was also really awkward for a lot of people. And there was no way to turn it off. And the game got immediately snubbed. It got some pretty negative reviews, and pretty much the entire subreddit was like, we don't care about Code 51 Mecha Arena. Screw this game, it's dumb. And so that was it. It was just dumped. And, a few people made threads like, you need to give the game the shot. The blinders aren't that bad. Come on, guys. The blinders are bad for me. I'm not buying a game with blinders. And I told them, the moment you let me turn off those blinders is the moment I buy your game. That moment would come 3 days later. No joke. 3 days after launch, they rushed out a patch to turn off the blinders. Now, it's a little bit dumb. The way you do it is you hold in the left analog stick to turn off the blinders, and you hold in the right analog stick to turn off the head-based movement, to toggle it on and off. Unfortunately, this means it's very easy to accidentally toggle the blinders back on, but I get the idea. They were like, there's no guarantee that you're not going to get sick from turning the blinders off, so let's make it so you can emergency kick them back on. So they did that, but yeah, as soon as they did that, I bought the game, I played it, and I loved it. The game was great. I was very happy that they were able to get it out before the launch day sale went away. And after that, the PSVR subreddit was flooded with people loving Code 51 Mecha Arena. It suddenly got a huge boost in hype because the thing with motion sickness in VR is the more you play VR games, the more that motion sickness goes away until it's not affecting you. So anyone on the PlayStation VR subreddit, the majority of those people are people who have been playing VR games for well over a year by now. They're not affected by motion sickness, and they find some of these options very frustrating. And I was definitely in that category. Now, it's important to have these because not everyone has gotten over their motion sickness yet, but you need to also understand they're not a universal cure-all. The anti-motion sickness blinders can give other people motion sickness, as crazy as that sounds. But yeah, now that went away, I was loving Code 51 Mecha Arena, even though it is incredibly sparse. I need to mention this. The game is very much built around multiplayer, which is a flaw way too many games, especially VR games, have. This is one of the most mind-boggling things. So many VR games come out and are pretty much just multiplayer only and VR only. And everyone just looks at them and goes, what in the heck are you thinking? Because when you do that, you're limiting yourself to a very small audience. There's only 2 million PlayStation VR headset owners in the entire world. You say our game is multiplayer only, VR only, there's a very small group of people that can play your game now, and they will get distracted by some other game that does multiplayer better, and your player base will dry up. Thankfully, Code 51 Mecha Arena has a practice mode, which is you versus bots, and initially I thought that was pretty okay, until I actually got good at the game, and I went 13-0 against the bots. They don't maneuver very well. They're very basic AI. They are a joke. But I'm glad that they're there. I appreciate them. I do like the way they did the online matchmaking as well. The game is set up where when you go and start an online game, if there's no one to play against, it'll just put you in an arena full of bots and people can join in as you play. And the way the scoring system works is everyone starts with 100 points, and as you take people out, you steal their points. With the more points they have, the more points they lose when they get defeated. This was designed specifically so someone who joins in mid-match still has a chance if they can take out one of the dominant players. It's a little bit questionable at times, but I get where they're coming from, and with the entire game being built around people joining you mid-match, this is very good. And it does make the game very enjoyable to just idle in online and people join in, and yeah, we actually had a lot of good competition. I do not expect the online multiplayer to last for Code 51 Mecha Arena, but I've had fun while it lasted. I already put a stream up on the channel, like, with my first playthrough of it. I streamed it again a second time, because the following day, Saturday, Code 51 Mecha Arena was just jumping. There were tons of really, really good opponents, and if you want to see, like, what it looks like when people really know what they're doing, Code 50, I will try to upload my video of that to my channel soonish, because the way I did that was I actually streamed it straight from the PS4 so people could talk to me while I played, which didn't result in much, while simultaneously recording it on my computer, so that way you could get the non-fisheye lens, because when you stream PlayStation VR, you get a fisheye lens if you're streaming straight from PlayStation 4 instead of from the social screen. Either way, I've been having a blast with the game, and it's the kind of thing that really made me sit down and think about it, because it reminded me of a thing called Virtual World. Way back in the 90s, there was a place called Virtual World, and it wasn't really virtual reality. What it was they had these big, fancy vehicle cockpits that you could go into and enclose yourself in, and they've got all the screens and all the buttons and all the joysticks, so that way you could fully immerse yourself in the game. And they had two games. They had, like, Red Planet, which was a racing game, and Battletech. Years later, they would do an updated version of the pods, which would only have an updated version of Battletech on it. But I remember going there for one of my birthdays with a hardcore Battletech fan, friend of mine, and us playing a few rounds of that. That was so good. I know they actually cart those pods around to conventions. I know they've been at the Anime Central convention in Chicago a couple times, but now those pods are a little bit dated due to the fact that the game's kind of from, like, 1996, 1997. The most recent version of the game that they're running in those pods. But it was a really cool thing, and I remembered how... and that was the thing. I remembered how expensive it was to play that. And though it's a very different game, I was getting a very similar feel from playing Code 51 Mecha Arena. And I'm like, you know what? Even if this is just this one-time thing, even if it's only these few days of me getting to play with a bunch of people online in Code 51 Mecha Arena, I feel like I got my money's worth out of it, just remembering that. Because it's not too pricey, but it's a little bit too pricey for a multiplayer-only game, but being in VR just completely changed it for me. Once again, here I am gushing about VR. Though it does make me sincerely wish that they would make another mech game in VR that's a little bit more like Steel Battalion, where you have, like, a full control interface that you would press. Interestingly, there's already sort of a demo of that. I need to go pick up a copy of Star Wars Battlefront 1, because in Star Wars Battlefront 1, if you own that game, you get to download a free X-Wing VR mission. And that X-Wing VR mission is said to be one of the best things in PlayStation VR, even though it's only one mission and everyone wants the full game out of it. And what it is you actually, you're sitting in the cockpit of an X-Wing, and it's played with the regular DualShock 4 controller, but you could actually look at the different buttons and controls in your X-Wing and press the X button to interact with them. Most of them did very little. You could bring up the, trench radar, but it's just showing, a looping image of a wireframe trench. It doesn't actually do anything. But the fact that you could look around your cockpit and hit all these different buttons by looking at them with your head and pressing X is really cool, and it makes me think you could totally do something like Steel Battalion in VR. I think what would be even cooler is if they built a VR mech game that had different mechs accommodating different kind of controls. Do a lightweight mech that had, head-based aiming, do a heavy mech that controls more like Steel Battalion, where you look at the different controls to hit the different buttons, and then do one that actually uses the move controllers and, tracks your arm movement for you to, punch things. That would be cool as well. It would be nice if someone would do that, but I don't think anyone will. The idea might be too ambitious, but maybe, hopefully, someday in the future. So there we go. There was my weekly gushing about virtual reality, because as overpriced and early as it is, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and a lot of this stuff just slips under the radar. Who here has even heard of Code 51 Mecha Arena? Who knows about that game? Who cares about that game? A lot of people think that there's no games in VR because no one talks about them, so I feel a need to talk about them and say, no, there's something here. It's just you're not hearing about it because VR is kind of getting snubbed by the mainstream gaming press, if you ask me. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us here on GameBabble Live and suffering my random VR rambling. We will be back next week, next Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. once again to give you the latest video game news and information here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. Now, here's Broken Glass by Rachel Platten here on 89.5 FM. Thank you again. See you next week, and please enjoy. That was Broken Glass by Rachel Platten here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Hey, are you interested in criminal justice? There will be a criminal justice information session Thursday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. at the Florissant Valley campus, obviously, in the Student Center, lower level PDRA, so right across from the bookstore. Guest speakers Officer Glenn Norwood and Officer Kevin Miner will be there. There is limited seating, so reserve your seat today. You can call Frenchie Turner at 314-644-9226. That's again, 314-644-9226. Or email fturner20@stlcc.edu. That's fturner20@stlcc.edu. Once again, there will be a criminal justice information session Thursday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. here on Florissant Valley Community College campus in the lower level of the Student Center across from the bookstore. Coming up next is Can I Sit Next to You by Spoon here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening.